A big warm welcome out there, everybody. Top of the morning to you. Well, I guess I should say top of the afternoon to you right now. 12 Eastern time on a Monday morning. Now, let's get right into it. We're going to go into members training here momentarily, but let's do a quick review on what was the most important thing we saw today. Had a great day today in the room. Made over $1,000, right? Over $1,000 of profit. Both the fast trackers and the advancement traders made some great money today. And it didn't really come it came easy, but we had to put our homework in it first. We had to do our homework before the test today. What was the most important thing, first of all? There were ultimately 3 big clues today that told us exactly what to do. The first clue came in the news. The news we saw this morning told us that we didn't have any news before 9:30. And so what did that make me do? That made me think, we should probably be patient early in the morning. Okay, if you missed 7:30 this morning, we did a whole entire morning prep this morning. It was a really good educational but useful morning prep for members and guests. We then knew once we got through 9:30, we'd probably be getting the meat and potatoes around 10 o'clock and 10:30. And then like we usually get, since Monday, same reason why you and I want to keep sleeping in on Monday morning, right? Same reason why Fridays and early. We thought Monday would be an early, kind of a late open, which means we'd probably get some opportunities late in the morning here as well. So we were waiting to see what the personality looked like late in the morning. It really wasn't that great market personality. So we were right in the sense that we got everything we needed there right in that 9:30 to 10:30 block. That was the first big clue. The first big clue was no news before 9:30. The next clue we got came in the dollar. And this is very commonplace. The dollar is always going to be something we get clues from. What did the dollar tell me today? Remember this? This morning, we thought we might have a really difficult day today. The dollar told me what? 2 things. Inside day. Now, I can't tell you we had the price wedge then. We didn't. We didn't have a wedge then. What we did have back then, though, was we had this. We had the top of that wedge, and we had a bull trend. Remember that, guys? Remember that? So the first thing we said on the dollar was, look for the dollar at its major resistance, right? This turning point, beware the best trades come today. Second thing we said about the dollar, if it wedges inside the range from Friday, look out, huge red flag. And what did we see here late in the morning? That's exactly what we saw. And then the last big clue we got was that short-term channel or the short-term trend. We knew if that trend was to stop trending and go sideways, we would then be able to see sideways ranges in other markets too. So the first thing was when the dollar went to that turning point, look what time it was. What time was that at? You got about 9 o'clock. So when the dollar hit its turning point, our second clue was now kicked into high gear. The dollar said dollar resistance. What does dollar resistance tell me? Synthetic support. We talked about this morning at 7:30 this morning. And then, guys, what was our plan on the crude? Here was our third clue. Crude oil now a little bit funky. You can see we got a lot of stuff drawn in this thing now, but let me kind of clean this thing up a little bit. At that time on crude, well, you know what? I'm not a big fan of hindsight. Why even bother looking at this chart? Why don't we go right back in time here, go back to the morning prep on the blog. Let me show you what we had on crude. There's my euro, right? There's my crude. Here's my strategy on crude. Don't take my word for it. Look what we saw. Here on crude at 7:30 this morning, and of course at 7:30 we didn't have the luxury of hindsight, did we? What did we see here? We saw the channel. Well, I'm sorry, we saw the wedge. There's your wedge. Our first clue was to sell the highs. Second clue would be to buy the lows and trade inside this price wedge. Guys, if you missed the morning prep this morning, you missed a lot. We knew first clue was the wedge. Second clue was that double bottom. That double bottom right there on crude was my second clue. That gave me some significant resistance overhead. We later used that as a target, didn't we? We used that double bottom resistance as a target. We used that wedge high as a personality clue. So the second thing we saw today, double bottom on crude. First clue on crude, wedge. Second clue on crude, double bottom. Which this, of course, was our third major clue of the morning. First clue was in the morning, be patient. Second clue was use that dollar index, right, in that narrow range, in that turning point. And the third clue came just too easy on crude. On crude, what do we see happen? The price wedge. Sell the highs, buy the lows. Here's a classic example of how we planned our trades and traded our plan. All right, guys, 4 easy trades here on crude. 4 easy trades here on crude. And it all goes hand in hand with what our personality is on the wedge and how we use the other clues we got. For example, we began our day with the dollar doing what? Dollar trending. What direction was that dollar trending in? Dollar was trending higher. So while the dollar was trending higher, what did that tell me? What's my bias? If the dollar's trending, I want to sell. And what do you see happen? Top of the wedge. Sell the highs of the wedge. There's your wedge short right there. Just after 9:15, you get that trigger to go short on crude. Nice, big, healthy winner. Where are we going to go to? You got it, the lows of the wedge.